11 after 7. Listening to that is Niall Dickson, who's Chief Executive of the NHS Confederation. Similar point to you, if I may. Is it simply a matter of cash? Good morning.
Good morning. No, but there is a matter of cash, so be very clear about that. The answer is the system is underfunded as of this minute. It is not coping with demand. We've seen 100,000 more people needing to be admitted this January compared to last. I mean, that's an extraordinary figure. This is on top of rising demand year after year. And, of course, while the government is right in saying we put, quote, more money into the health service, the reality is that the money that's gone in has not met the rising demand which the service is trying to cope with. So that's the first problem. The second one, which I think you've touched on, and the doctor referred to as well, is the system as it's currently organised is really not fit for purpose, and we need a lot of change. And alongside that, as you've also pointed out, social services, social care has been even worse hit funding-wise over the last 10 years, and that means that its ability to absorb people coming out of hospital has been compromised time after time. And although, again, they've managed pretty heroically, and the government has put a bit more money in, the fact is that system needs a review and a great deal more money than it's currently getting.
How competent would you describe most NHS trust management to be?
I think pretty competent. I mean, the answer is you can't. If you're seeing, you'll get a normal curve of competence, I guess, in any industry. That's to say, you'll get some brilliant. The vast majority are pretty good, and you'll probably get some who are struggling. But the reality, if you look at the inspections of the healthcare system, where it is struggling, often those are hospitals that have long struggled. In other words, sometimes the jobs that we give people are almost impossible to do because the way that the hospital is configured, the levels of funding that it's received, the relationships at local level, all those things make it extraordinarily difficult to do. And I think at the moment, being a hospital manager or even a health service manager generally is one of the most difficult jobs of trying to manage the kind of situation that the doctor described of people on the front line. And your heart goes out to doctors who walk onto a shift and find that, there are gaps in their rota, they're not able to deliver the care that they're giving. The people who are organising that are also under huge pressure to meet targets from the centre on the one hand, to try and manage the finances, and yet, of course, these things simply don't add up because you can't say, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to shut the shop up for a few days. The answer is the system just keeps on demanding more and more from the staff who are trying to manage.
But why do we allow a situation where, in some instances, a health trust pays £1,500 for a pot of skin moisturiser that will cost £2 in the shops?
Well, it's a very good example, and the answer is there is somewhere you could take me to today in the health service where the care will be poor, where there'll be a gross waste of money, and where it's not working well, and there will be plenty of other places where it's working brilliantly. Now, there are some system problems which absolutely need to be addressed, and of course it is true that there will be some suppliers to the NHS who try and rip it off.
Shouldn't that be addressed? Before we necessarily aim for more cash, shouldn't that be being addressed?
Absolutely, and if in answer to your original question, we also need to make sure that we use every NHS pound as effectively as we possibly can. And that's why some NHS commissioners, for example, are looking very closely at some of the medicines which we currently use and the prices that we pay. And all that has got to be kept. But of course, the thing about the NHS is it's so large that you will, of course, get wastes of money in various places, and there are more systemic things that we need to do to save money in back office services and rationalising the way that we do things. But
I must leave it there only for time reasons. Thank you, Niall Dickson, your Chief Executive of the NHS Confederation. Your reactions.